And I feel like as much as you enjoy photography, as much as you enjoyed barbering, as much as you enjoyed many things that you've put your hands to, music always seems to come back.
Well, yeah, like, because from when I was 12 years old, this was the fascination. Mm-hmm. Like, being on stage after we've created those events and seeing artists perform, seeing the crowd go crazy, like, I lived for that feeling.
Yeah.
I could not tell you how many things would go wrong in a night, how many parents would bitch at me. And mind you, I'm like a year older than their children at the time. So
Still so wild to me.
Still so wild to me too. And just being in that stage at, like, 1:15 a.m. and being like, oh, this moment makes everything worth it. Mm-hmm. And like just seeing DJs do what they do, and like again, like that excitement of music and how music changes the environments that you're in, to me, that's been such a fascination from that time. And then anything I've done since, it seems to be like the universe is like, yeah, but no.
Yeah, but music though.
Navigate me back. Like, even with photography, like I was shooting primarily music artists, and I was like, okay, is this
that
a
is
sick
true
joke?
That is true. Yeah, I think that music has made it very clear in your life that, hey, this is the thing.
Hey, asshole,
this is your thing. You can run away if you want, but I am here. That's awesome, and I think that it's really, really cool that you found a way to do that in a way that's actually going to impact artists and music makers beyond an individual show or beyond some photos that can be used for something, no matter how big those things can be. Because again, you've had some photos on billboards around the world. You've had artists perform in front of thousands of people that you helped put that show together and create that moment. But this thing that you're working on right now is different.
It's my heart and soul.
My heart, my soul.
My heart, my soul.
It's different. It's disruptive. It's going to be long lasting, and it's going to be, and I tell people this too, when I'm speaking of Muse and, taking music to Web3 and to the blockchain and whatnot without trying to confuse them too much. I just want people to understand the heart of it is to be able to go direct to consumer without all of these intermediaries. It's like straight to the person who wants your art. You can deliver it to them directly and also know who they are so you can communicate with them. And I'm all in favor of, and Muse is not the only thing, the only thought in this way of thinking. Mm-hmm. And I'm a believer that although I know Muse will be the best one, it's important that there are more, because people need to wrap their heads around the idea of, for the same reason why for when streaming came out, because it was a reaction to pirating music with, LimeWire and Napster and all that stuff, the industry had to make the adjustment. There couldn't just be Spotify. There has to be Spotify, Apple, Deezer, Tidal, SoundCloud, Bandcamp, all of these things to exist for enough people to understand, oh, this is how it works now.
Well, see, and that's interesting you say that, because I entirely agree. And oftentimes, and I'm sure other founders can relate, when you talk to VCs and they're like, okay, so who are your competitors? I don't see them as competitors, because we're all working towards a common goal. And the goal is ownership.
Right.
Like, the goal is, whether it's us, whether it's, any other platform that exists in the same sphere, it's the ability for us collectively revolt against the big dogs.
Yeah,
that are still big dogs for now.
And the status quo.
The time is coming.
Yeah, the status quo, to disrupt how it's working, because it is not working for artists at large to earn a living. The top elites, yeah, they're doing great. But most people, just like in any field of business, like just because you open a store does not mean you're going to be Walmart.
No, and that's part of the reason too why with Muse we don't ask for exclusivity. Mm-hmm. I've always been of the school of thought that if something is good, you're not going to want to leave.
Fair.
So with us, like, the way we're building it is, if you ever don't like the platform, you can actually export all your contacts, export all the people, and move on to something else. Because to me, again, if you enjoy the platform, if we're treating you good, if we're doing good business, and we lead with that, we'll lead with transparency, we'll lead with integrity, why would you ever want to leave?
You know what's very interesting to this point, because that's a great point. Imagine, just imagine with your mind's eye, if the traditional record industry worked that way. If they were, you know what, you're an artist, I love what you do, let's sign a deal together. And if you say to me during that deal, you know what, I don't like how this is working, can we change this or can I go somewhere else? And I'd be like, do you? Because I'm going to create an environment where you're not going to want to leave. Imagine that was, because I actually just saw a little clip of a Prince interview earlier today where he was speaking about his record career. And he was saying that, you know, he got signed very young, like a lot of artists, did not understand the business as well at 17, 18, 19 years old. But by the time he was in his mid-20s, he had been in the business for a while. And he said from his third album onward, he stopped taking advances, which is when the record company gives you a sum of money to record your project, and then they get that money back when you sell it. He stopped taking that money because he had the ability and the know-how and the gear to record himself. So he started recording his own things and making everything in-house, in his house, literally, or in his own studios or what have you. And he legitimately had conversations with them where he's like, look, man, I understand when you were paying for everything, you owned it. But now I'm paying for everything. I don't want to leave. I'm not saying I need to leave because you are still useful in your part of this deal where, you know, the distribution of it. But the production of it used to be on your dime. Now it's on my dime. Can we renegotiate this thing? And at that time, they just kept forcing the contract in his face. Like, well, no, you signed this, you signed this, you signed this. This is the deal. And he's like, yeah, I get that. But like, you're not holding up your end of that bargain anymore either, because I'm taking it on. Yeah, no, you didn't ask me to, but I'm just saying, can we not renegotiate? Can we not work together to make this thing great so we can all be happy and all make this money? And the response to that was basically no.
And how did that end? Exactly. Prince ended up disrupting the entire situation and never, ever, ever let them breathe after that. And see, like, that's interesting because obviously you would hope that labels would operate that way, but it's just never been that way.
It could have been. It was right there for them, though, especially in that case, because Prince was an artist that had that kind of notoriety, fame, was bringing in that kind of income. That would have been a great example. But what he said in that space, though, is like they couldn't renegotiate. They couldn't change the way that it worked, because if they changed the way that it worked, then they would cease to exist. And the analogy he said is like, if all you're doing mainly at this point is distribution, because I'm making the production, it's like, why do you get ownership of the thing? Because when I ship something through FedEx, they distribute it, but they don't get any ownership. They get paid for what they do.
That's exactly it.
And that sounds like exactly how you're describing Muse and this new way of thinking with delivering music to the people who want the music.
We're the FedEx of the Web3 world. From us to the people.
I love it. Yo, thank you for tuning in to Live Actually. This was just a clip from this week's episode. If you want to see the full episode, click that link right there in the description. It's the first one right there. You see it right there. And while you're at it, make sure you hit that subscribe, all right? Big love from Four Corners. That's me. And this has been Live Actually. See you on the next one.